All right. Will RAF, Real American Wrestling, introduce a barrier to wrestling like Karate Combat, like CGI, Craig Jones Invitational, or even unfamously like Kale Sonny's, what's it called? Wrestling Underground. And I hope they do. I hope RAF does add a barrier, and I hope they succeed. More like CGI. I would actually like that type of barrier, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I hope they succeed with the rule set in a way that Wrestling Underground failed. And because I know only myself, Kale Sonny, his mom, and like 2 other people have even watched Wrestling Underground, I'll tell you a little bit about it because I think it's important how they failed. Maybe about their successes, so I'm not super mean, but mostly I want to talk about the cage, and that's where I think they had a big failure. So, Wrestling Underground was essentially, I mean, it's on UFC Fight Pass if you want to watch it still, I think. It was like 5-10 years ago, maybe closer to 5. I watched it twice, a long time ago. And I think it was billed as like Greco-Roman meets freestyle in the octagon. But it was mostly just freestyle in the octagon. And it was a mess. Rule set wise, it was a mess because they added the barrier, threw the rules on top of it, and then it seems like they didn't give it any thought at all about what kind of problems may run into, perverse incentives, stalled action, all kinds of things. And why they added the barrier in the first place. Like, let's start there. Why do you add a barrier to any sports program? Why does arena football have a barrier as compared to regular football? It's so that you can keep the action going, so that you can't stop the action by going out of bounds, right? Same thing the step out's supposed to do, except for it's supposed to make it physically impossible, right? And I'm getting hot in here. Let me think. And so the big problem with Wrestling Underground was that they didn't make it so the action doesn't stop. So these guys, they'd hit the cage, they'd start. First of all, they don't know how to wrestle on the cage. Cage wrestling is a totally different thing. For anybody that's watched MMA, you know this. But they didn't know how to wrestle on the cage, so they're hitting the cage, they're hitting these stalls, they're hitting the ground, they can't finish their takedowns because the cage is there. And on top of that, in the middle of the fucking ring, just like a freestyle match, the referees can't stop blowing the whistle. I think I cursed, I'm sorry. They can't stop blowing the whistle. And telling one of the guys, like, hey man, the wheels on the bus, they go round and round. Don't forget about it. Stop blowing your whistle. Stop stopping the action. That's the entire point. Like, that's one of the biggest things RAF can do is like stop stopping the action. And then, also adding a barrier, more like CGI. Like I said, more of the pit. God, there's a lot of things to say about the pit. Honestly, I'll just say this at the end. This is a book recommendation for anybody involved in RAF, anybody involved in making a game, making a wrestling rule set, anything. There's a book. It's called The Rule Book, The Building Blocks of Games. And it's all about game theory and how to set these rules up and what they're supposed to do and perverse incentives and how you address these things. And I'm not one of those people that really thinks like you need an expert for everything, but I've watched so many. In fact, this is what the original video I wanted to do was all the real pro wrestling leagues, their successes and their failures. But that's a lot of fucking work, and I'm a regular guy. Well, I cussed again. But I'm a regular guy, so I'm not gonna do that. But I think the barrier is super duper important, and I think that it will help. So I think if you guys look into it and you think about what you're trying to get out of it, and if you want more action, and you don't want the action to stop, you gotta stop blowing the whistle. You gotta introduce the barrier. That's it.